right now. Good morning. This is Rick Irving with Hometown Heroes with my co-host Mary Staffel. Mary, how are you?
I'm great, Rick. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You're coming to us today from Florida. So,
I am. I got some things I have to do here after the loss of my dad's girlfriend. Yeah, 4 years. I know some folks know I lost my dad 4 years ago in January, and his girlfriend has just wanted to join him for the last 4 years. In the beginning of January, she joined him. So my sister inherited the house, and so I'm here to help her get things settled and cleaned and all the stuff that has to happen now. So we're working through all of that, but I'm excited because we have such a great guest today. And one of my favorite folks out there at the Joint Reserve Base. He's just an incredible guy, the skipper out there, Captain Beau Hufstetler. We got to meet you. I think it's been just over a year, hasn't it? That you came
That's
aboard?
it. Yeah, just over a
I
year.
say aboard ship
That's
because
correct.
you're on
Yeah,
it. Yeah. Yeah. So we
it's
are
I was
always
gonna say we had our
work
change
with
of
him.
command. And yeah, in November we had our change of command in November 23, and so I guess we're 50. We were trying to add the months up the other day when I was sitting here with my XO, and we're like, man, it's been a while now. We're not we can't use the excuse that we're brand new. I think we passed that at the 1 year mark. So
I think
yeah.
you're doing a good job. I,
Awesome
from
job. I think they just got recognized, if I saw that right. I was pretty happy to see that. Some neat recognition.
Yeah,
I'm
that was
sure he'll
really
tell us all about it.
yeah, really special. So the Installation Excellence Award. There's two categories: large bases and small bases. We kind of find ourselves at the top of the small base category, but we won first place for our region, which was really cool. We got to celebrate that, and then all the different regions within the CNIC Commander Navy Installations Command. Those bases, then the top one from each region around the world. Those bases compete against each other, and so we actually won first place for all the small category bases. So really neat for the team. We had a really busy year this past year, and really just executed in a lot of different ways. And so, I kind of joke that we're never gonna pattern our actions to try to win an award, but as you guys know, it is nice when the team is working hard for them to get a pat on the back and say good job. So it was a great year last year. Our department heads and down to our youngest sailors, they put in a ton of work every day, and to have somebody come in and say, hey, you guys did a great job. And even to have an active duty Navy active duty boss that still picks the Joint Reserve Base to be the top, says a little something that they recognize the reserve base. So we were really excited about that. It was a blessing to receive it, but I tell you, the work that went in this past year, you guys were here around the air show, and we had our security inspection you get every 3 years. We had that. We got the highest score that the team's ever got here, and so there's just been a lot of departments that have been executing at a high level. So really cool to get the recognition.
Yeah. Well, everybody that I've interacted with, all of your sailors I've interacted with, and I come on base at least once a week. So
Good.
They really have been just so pleasant and so professional, and that's really a testament to the leaders that you and the team that you surround yourself with. Because if you guys weren't taking care of them, they wouldn't be taking care of you. I can assure you of that. So
Yeah.
they definitely are following your lead.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
and there's a lot of moving parts in your world because you have the base to take care of. You've got to interface with all the other branches of the military that are out there. So, and then whenever you came, they had already scheduled the air show. So that was a big undertaking too. Where you're from Canton, Ohio? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Grew up in Canton, Ohio. I met my wife when I was in 7th grade. She would not date me for any good reasons. So we were best friends all growing up in Canton, Ohio. And then I went off to the Naval Academy. I was I was dead set on being a sports physical therapist because I had played basketball and football in high school and just had a great experience with our physical therapist that I had worked with. And I was going to go to Ohio State, and luckily my high school football coach helped me get connected to the Naval Academy football team. And I went down there, took a visit, and still wasn't really sure it was for me. But the longer, as I've now helped two high school, now college students in my own house process what you do and where you go and what you do after high school, I just really was taken with the opportunity to be challenged. And it was just a really neat opportunity. I knew nothing about the military really. And to have the opportunity to go to the Naval Academy was pretty cool for a kid from Northeast Ohio to go down there. And I figured it out pretty quick. They teach you, the military is pretty good at indoctrinating you pretty quick when you have no clue what's going on. So they welcome all hands there in Annapolis on induction day. There's no discrimination there for whether you know anything about the military or not. So but that's where it all started, was out of Ohio.
And did you play football for the Naval Academy?
Yeah, I like to say that I was on the team. I didn't play per se. It was a wonderful opportunity. I was on the team for 4 years, and it really created a neat opportunity to be in the gym with a high level football team, and just met some great players and great folks. And it was nice to have a break to get away from the military side of the house and the academics, which the academic side was really challenging. I was an engineering major, and it was tough. It was tough, but going to the football practice, even though it was really long hours, it was also kind of a nice reprieve to get away for a little while. And so yeah, I was on the team for 4 years.
And they had a pretty good team this year. I mean, they came to an Armed Forces Bowl, and
really cool. I mean, what a unique opportunity we had this year to have them play in Fort Worth against Oklahoma, which was a huge draw. That sold out quick, and then for us to take them down was even better. So I always say I don't do the knock on wood, I don't do the cliches, and we took opportunities to celebrate beating Air Force this year, and beating Army, and beating Oklahoma. So you might have seen the score of all three of those games out on the marquee at the base. The day after. It's fun. Yeah. You got to celebrate when you can, because sometimes you don't get to celebrate.
That's right. Well, after you completed the Air Force, the Naval Academy, you went to flight school? Was that the next step?
We all start out in Pensacola for what we call API, aviation pre-flight indoctrination. And they kind of weed you out if you're not going to pass it through. They do some academics and some water torture, water training, and a few other things. And then I shipped off to Corpus Christi and did my primary flight training in Corpus Christi. That's when I started here in Texas. I've done about 12 years of my career in Texas. So I started out in flight school, and then I had to make the decision of what I wanted to fly. And really, the thing maybe that influenced that the most was I really liked the crewed aircraft concept. And then I also knew I got married while I was at flight school. We knew we wanted to start a family. And so, of course, we chose land-based aircraft out of flight school. So I ended up flying P3s, went out to Jacksonville to learn how to fly the P3. And then my first duty station flying the P3 was up in Brunswick, Maine, which, now has been turned over to the city. That doesn't exist anymore. But I was there for pretty much its last years, and it was just a wonderful base. And I really love flying in the P3 community. We did some really neat things. I had just one of the best crews in the squadron, and so we got to go on a lot of great detachments. We did a PACOM deployment my first time to Japan, Kadena Air Force Base, Misawa Air Force Base, that whole area out there. And then my second one was really my last year we spent flying in Iraq out of Qatar, Al Udeid Air Force Base, flying surveillance and reconnaissance missions in support of the troops on the ground in Iraq. Was really what I did pretty much my last year at the squadron. So got a taste of both things. Got to practice hunting submarines with the P3 community, and then I got to, do a completely different mission because that's what the nation needed at the time. So, so I really enjoyed it. That was a great first tour and a great introduction into the Navy.
The P3, it's a submarine hunter primarily, so it's full of electronics. It can also carry torpedoes,
Yes.
can it? And
Yes.
whenever
Yep.
I've seen some pictures where they have the dome like an AWACS. Did yours have anything like that?
Yeah, mine did not. So those are the if you hear the squadrons, all the VP squadrons did not have that. The VQ squadrons did have that capability.
Okay.
And as of today, all of those squadrons have transitioned over to the P8, which is the successor to the P3, and even the Navy Reserve. The Navy Reserve has 2 VP squadrons. One in Whidbey Island, one down in Jacksonville. That's the the community that I'm part of, and they have transitioned over P8s as well. So the P8 is an awesome aircraft and very similar to the C-40, which is in the cockpit really is what I've flown for the last 15 years. But yeah, the VP community, it does a unique mission, and obviously they still perform the that anti-submarine warfare as one of their mission sets.
When did the P3 fly last out of IUD, do you think?
Oh, great question. I don't know out of IUD. Probably not real long ago, I would assume, but I really don't know. I mean, I transitioned home in 2007. And obviously it was still up and running then, but I'm not really sure when they finished up. P3s have been flying in different capacities up until the last few years, but they've all, at this point, even the reserve, transitioned over to the P8. So
yeah, because when I was at IUD, I was in IUD in 2018, and there was one that they were like, "This is it. This is the end of the line," and
that's
we toured our I was with CENTCOM Forward Headquarters, and we toured our folks through, and they took them on the planes and showed them what they did, and they bought patches and all kinds of stuff. The guys, the team that we had really enjoyed that. But I wonder if that was the same one, if that was when it was last flying out of there.
It probably was. I bet that was about the last point. I've spent plenty of days over there in a trailer flying missions in the middle of the night. So I think it's a little prettier now. I think it was probably pretty cush when you were there in 2018, but back in 06 and 07, it was not.
Yeah, it was cush for me because I was CENTCOM Forward Headquarters Senior Enlisted Leader and First Sergeant. So I was in the CENTCOM dorms anyway, so I had nice accommodations. Everybody at the head
earning your keeps. So.
Yeah, I was a busy person.
I've got a question.
Well, we spent. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, whenever you were doing your training in Corpus, you did some carrier landings, didn't you? That was part of your training?
I did not. Now, my XO will come in here and he would brag to you how many carrier landings he has because he's a Hornet guy. Now, all Navy pilots, when you go through primary, everybody does as part of the syllabus, and this was flying the T-34. Now they fly the T-6. Both single-engine propeller-driven aircrafts, just T-6 is really overpowered. I did in the T-34. Everyone does an aerobatics syllabus. Everyone does a formation flying syllabus. So they're able to kind of naturally weed you out if you don't score well enough in those. That they start kind of naturally working some people into the helicopter community and some people into other communities, and some people just find that there's a certain kind of flying that they enjoy and certain kind of flying that they don't enjoy. So, I've had friends that have flown in every one of those communities, and I think each one of them really has a value, to not only the aviation side but also the crew concept side, So then once you're done with primary, they grade you out, and then you figure out where you're going next. And sometimes it's luck of the draw, right? It's like anything else in the military. Sometimes you get to that week where you're choosing your aircraft, and your aircraft you want is not even available. So welcome to the military. I think the week that I picked, there was one jet spot for all the students that were graduating in Pensacola and Corpus. So it didn't really matter to me because it wasn't what I was trying to pick. But sometimes there's just not enough to go around.
Did you transitioned over to the C-40 then, didn't you? A little later in your career.
Yeah, I did. When I came back from my last deployment, I went to Corpus Christi. I was a flight instructor in the T-44. That's a twin-engine King Air 90s. And we were teaching all of the Air Force, Marine, Navy, and Coast Guard C-130 and P-3 pilots. We would teach them how to do multi-engine flying. So I did that for 3 years, kind of hit the end of my Navy commitment at that point, and was looking into a few different programs. And ultimately, the ability to stay Navy was still out there, but to move into the Navy Reserve as an active duty in the Navy Reserve, which we used to call full-time support. Now we call TAR, Training and Administration of the Reserves. And I just, by God's providence and some good luck, I got assigned to the squadron here in Fort Worth to fly the C-40. So I got my number one choice in location, my number one choice in aircraft, and that transition was really what set me on a course to be flying the C-40 for, what it has been since 2009 now.
And the C-40 is made by Boeing, and it's really an airliner.
That's correct. Yeah, Boeing 737 with a modification we have for a cargo door. It's known as a 737-700 convertible. And what the convertible means is we can take the inside of that aircraft, we can make it all seats, and it looks like an American Airlines or a Southwest Airlines 737 inside. We can take out half the seats and have 3 cargo pallet positions and then seats in the back. Or we can have it to where it's 7 pallet positions and no seats in the back. So it's fully convertible, takes maybe 4 to 8 hours to go from one configuration to another. But it's really been the moneymaker for the C-40 community, especially when we're in what's called the combi configuration, where we have 3 pallets of cargo, a wall, and then 70 seats in the back. We can take units and their cargo, anywhere in the world. And the wing that I fly in, the Fleet Logistics Support Wing, they really make their money in the kind of short scheduled, medium lift area. So let's say there's a ship that goes down in a port in the Red Sea, in the Red Sea or out in the Gulf. They can take those aircraft, C-130s or C-40s. They can get parts and people to fix, and they can be there in in less than 48 hours, which is a little different than the AMC mission, which is kind of a scheduled out, more of a large troop transport mission. The Navy mission is a little more on demand. Some things are scheduled out in advance, but there's a portion of that mission that is, a short notice on demand mission that the Navy needs, and the Navy Reserve is the only one who does that mission for the Navy. So,
and you have some base there at now, don't you?
That's correct. Yeah. So VR-59 is here. There's currently 6 C-40 squadrons, and I'll probably miss one if I started to name them. I had squadron command of a C-40 squadron in Virginia Beach at NAS Oceana. Now we got one down in Jacksonville, Whidbey Island. There's one now in Hawaii. They have a squadron in Hawaii, here in Fort Worth. Oh, and then San Diego. I did get them all. I can get them all. That's all of them. And then we've got 5 C-130 squadrons that are in different places around the United States. And then those 11 squadrons cover 3 detachment sites 365 days a year. There's always a C-40 and a C-130 in Japan, in Atsugi. There's always one in Sigonella, and there's always at least one of each in Bahrain. And so they cover those continuously between all those different squadrons to do support for the folks in those AORs. Yeah. So even our reservists, our part-time reservists, our selected reservists that are part of the squadron, most of them still give about 7 or 8 days a month, plus 30 to 60 days of detachment time a year. So they fly a lot with us. It's not your 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summertime. It's a lot of reserve support for it.
A lot of your reserve pilots, do they fly for the airlines?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so most of those squadrons on the pilot side, and of course we've got air crew positions, and we've got it's a whole crew concept for the load masters and the folks who are taking care of the passengers in the back. For the pilot side of the house, it's about 25% full-time full-time support folks, or TARP as we call it, and then it's about 75% are part-time reservists. Of that 75% that are selected reservists, the heavy majority of those are airline pilots, just because those they're just they complement each other, those two careers, that they're getting consistency, repetitions, and currency at the airline. And some of them are flying the 737 for American, and then they come fly the 737 for the Navy. But we do have some folks that are outside the airline industry that are maybe owning their own business or whatever, and then they just love coming in and putting the uniform on and going flying with their Navy folks, and still have meaning and value that they assign to the mission, and they don't want to give that up. So as you guys know, takes all types to make it work, and so a lot of different motivations there to recruit and retain talented individuals, and luckily it's been it's just been that mission set of flying logistics. I found, for me, I just really loved it. You get a mission done every time you go out flying. A lot of times you're bringing big groups of people home from deployment back to their families. You're dropping Navy SEALs into weird places, and just the whole thing. And flying a 737, which is one of the most reliable aircraft out there. I loved it. It was super fun. I got to fly multiple around the world missions. We'd go around the world in 6 days, and we were flying into Afghanistan quite a bit when that was still going on. And man, what an awesome way to see the world. It was a blessing.
Do you know about how many countries you've been in?
I tried to count that up one time. It's somewhere around 30-ish, probably. There's some places we go all the time. My VP, when I was flying the P3, I actually got around a lot, even in the P3. We got to go down to the Philippines and everywhere in Japan. It was a great story. My crew was the ready launch crew on the night in 2004 when the tsunami hit Sri Lanka and Thailand and just devastated that area. My P3 crew, was in Kadena, and we were on the ready one, I think, at that time. So you had to launch within an hour notification, and we were the first U.S. aircraft out after that tsunami hit, and we ended up taking streaming footage around Sri Lanka and sent that back to the carrier, and kind of helped lead the humanitarian assistance support. And while we were doing that, we were temporarily detached down in Diego Garcia, which, if you've never been to Diego Garcia before, I've probably spent about 2 months of my life there, and in the middle of the Indian Ocean, in the middle of nowhere, and all the other airfields were underwater because of the tsunami, and we were flying back and forth down to Diego Garcia. It was really neat mission to support the folks that were impacted by that from a humanitarian.
Because that was a horrible thing. I don't know how many people died, but
it was. I mean, when we flew in there, and you don't know, it was my first deployment, and so I was a lieutenant junior grade at the time, I think. Yep. And I still remember we'd fly the P3 down. We could go down to 200 feet above the water when we were doing 200 to 500 feet. We get pretty low. At any rate, we came down through the clouds to start, taking some photos and getting a look at what was going on. And you're following your chart and you're flying down there, and where the beach line was supposed to be, it wasn't there. Everything had moved a mile inland to where there was just all the boats and all that stuff was just littered a mile inland. And we saw some Group 3 tanker ships that were flipped upside down in the water. Just things that were just kind of humbling to see the power of nature when she strikes, that it can be pretty horrific.
And my cousin was on one of those carriers, and they stand there on the deck and look and see bodies going by.
Oh, yeah, and but it's also we've done some counter drug. I did some counter drug ops. We did those humanitarian assistance missions, and we did some different things coordinating with the islands in Micronesia when we were helping support their fisheries when the fishing zones would open up, and we would kind of help them to identify poachers. There's this variety of missions you do when you're wearing the uniform with the United States flag on your shoulder, and you realize you have an outsized impact on other people around the world that just don't have access to the resources that we do. And I always felt those humanitarian assistance missions, and maybe partially why I enjoy the logistics mission, is you just really get a sense that you're helping people out. And man, when you do that, the folks that you're helping, when you get to meet these folks after a mission, it's pretty humbling to see how much they appreciate us being there and supporting them. And people know the U.S. is out there, and they know that they're bringing resources to bear when they need resources.
And so your move to Fort Worth, this time you'd already been here before, so you kind of knew the area well.
Yeah, we lived on this base for a couple of years the last time around, and we moved in a house across the street from where we lived last time. Now, last time we were here, I had just had our fourth boy. So we moved with a bunch of small little kids, age 7-ish and below. Maybe, I think that's right, 7 and below. I could probably do the math real quick. Maybe 6, 7. I think my oldest was 6 or 7. So we came back this time, and I had one in college and a senior in high school. So it was a little different. We added 2 kids along the way. So we moved back here with a college freshman down to first graders that are twins. So it was a little different coming back. But really, my wife Julie and I, when we were in Virginia Beach, we were there for 6 years. It was I did a staff job there, and then I did my squadron command tour, and we really, really wanted to get back to Fort Worth. We love this town. Still have a lot of close friends that we made there, and I think Mary, you guys can probably speak to that as well. Just there's certain places you live where you just make friends quickly and feel supported. And Fort Worth was just really a city like that for us. Unfortunately, when I was leaving Virginia Beach, I had told my detailers, the people who get to decide where you go, I told them I didn't really care about promoting or anything. I just want to get back to Fort Worth. And they're like, well, that sounds great, but you're going to go to Millington, Tennessee, be a detailer for a couple of years, and you're going to come back here as hopefully a captain in a command role. And so we did that. We went from Virginia Beach to just outside of Memphis, Tennessee for 2 years. And then we're lucky enough to screen for a position to come down here in a command role. And very excited to be back here. We love this local community. My wife is a school teacher. Currently, she went back to working full time when we moved back here for the first time, and so she's teaching at a local school. And my kids have just had the benefit of being around some great families that really welcomed them back, which for military kids is a big deal. It's a big deal to move somewhere where the local community takes you in and recognizes kind of the sacrifices you make as a military kid, and they don't penalize you for them. They open their arms and bring you in. So we've been very appreciative of that for the local community.
Yeah, I think we've talked a number of times on this show about how Fort Worth is such a great community for the military, because the whole community just wraps their arms around the base. We just had one of our members, he's a Vietnam veteran and combat veteran, and he contacted me. Another person that he's very good friends with unfortunately passed, and left a bunch of furniture, and really nice furniture, and said I really wanted to go to a military family. So it's just the nature of the way that the community wraps its arms around the people on the base and just wants to love them and lift them up all the time. It's unlike anywhere else you can go.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that is 100% my feeling towards it. And, it's cool to get to come out to roll call and see what you guys are doing, and the morale that exists there, and to be welcomed by that group. The Chamber of Commerce, they have engaged with us, and they want to advocate for us, our local city council members. And, we're a unique base in the fact that, like, we touch, White Settlement, River Oaks, Westover Hills, Westward Village, City of Fort Worth. I think I said White Settlement already. If I didn't, I should, because they're wonderful partners. But, Lake Worth, we touch all these local entities, and really every one of those communities is supportive. And I don't know that exists. I know it doesn't exist at all the bases. I don't know where in the nation it's better than we have it when it comes to people who are just patriotic, that want to support the base. You know, how many people do I walk up to, probably the same for you guys, that were born at the hospital on Carswell Air Force Base, or, you know, spent time stationed here, we're a reservist, or entered service in Fort Worth and went off to somewhere else. I mean, the local community here, they get it. They understand what the military is all about. And so that's something that I want to do. You know, I certainly can do a better job as continuing to make those relationships with folks out in town. But I'll tell you, when we need help, like, people put their hands up, and that's
yeah. Well, and
wonderful.
you know, a lot of the people here remember what happened to the town, to the community when the base shut down, when Carswell Air Force Base shut down. Yeah, I hadn't come back into the military yet, and I was running 6 Applebee's, and one of them was right there by the base, and the sales were incredibly low because you just didn't have the community here. And now that place is booming all the time, but the community doesn't forget how powerful having the base active and engaged in. So the community is not going to forget the base, that's for sure, because they experience. And Rick, I know you grew up in Fort Worth, and you know what that was like when the base closed down professionally as well.
Yeah. And then poor old Horace Carswell, who Carswell was named after, the Medal of Honor recipient, he had to move out too whenever the base moved, because they, you know, didn't know what was going to happen to the base. So they moved him over to Oakwood Cemetery.
Okay. Yeah, and I feel like, I feel like every generation has made some unique strides in different ways, whether it's relationally within the community or infrastructure on the base or whatever. Cap McLean came before me, good friend of mine, and he was just a wonderful ambassador for the base and just a great friend. And his team certainly made a lot of strides, and John Townsend before him, and Mike Steffen, and and Mike Steffen now, Admiral Steffen, he's the senior most active duty reservist in the Navy, and he was the base CO here. So he's a great advocate when it comes to trying to get stuff done. It's cool to have him still advocating. So there's a long history of folks, T.D. Smyers and Paul Payne and these guys that I've been able to sit down and talk to. There's just a really neat history of people that have invested here, and I think you see that. I mean, there's a lot of bases where, and this is an old base. This is a World War II era installation. And, we still have some World War II era buildings that we're trying to keep the bugs out of and keep the air conditioning on in. And that's a challenge. But we haven't constricted, and our mission sets are continuing. And of course, the 301st just got started taking delivery of the F-35s this year. So that mission set is growing. The Marine VMR-1 now has 2 C-40s here. So that mission set is growing. We do anticipate Texas Army National Guard is going to bring their squadron here, the last one that's remained at NAS Dallas, or former NAS Dallas, that they're going to be coming here and moving in. So, from a mission set, I think the mission is healthy. And so we, just want to continue to advocate on behalf of the base to ensure that, you got to stop the deterioration and make sure you're investing in the infrastructure. And so our team's done a really good job of that. I've been real proud of them. Our public works department is really strong, and they put a lot of work last year in identifying requirements and scoping projects, and it allowed us to take advantage of some money at the end of the year. As you guys probably know, with the defense budget, every once in a while, somebody can't spend their money, and it was our goal to be standing there with all of our projects ready to go when that time came, and it helped us to get some quality life projects. We got brand new floors for our daycare center, which was long overdue. We're putting about $1.5 million, $2 million into our barracks for our 2 older barracks buildings. We're fixing a roof that was damaged by a tornado, some electrical system upgrades, some security upgrades. So it's it's good. We need to keep that pace as we continue. But you know, you guys know it's a huge economic driver for the city of Fort Worth. I think it's valued at $4.9 billion a year, and that's the largest of all the Navy bases in Texas. So, you know, I think that's a source of pride. Should be a source of pride for the local community, and we want to keep that going because the mission demands it, the country demands it. We got to keep this place healthy.
And you were talking about the other commanders that had been here, and they had all been involved in the community just like you were, or you are.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've got some real strong organizations out there, like the Fort Worth Air Power Council, Air Power Foundation, Holidays for Heroes. And then there's a lot more that help support the military and the families out there. So, and I know that you're tied in with those organizations, and because of your support, it helps us to be able to support the military families at the base.
Yeah. Connecting the families with the resources and opportunities too is just is really unique here. And so every time, you know, Air Power, Holidays and Heroes, sets something up and invites people to engage, and really what we're trying to build also is just some opportunities for volunteer work. You know, every time those opportunities present themselves, it's something that's going to impact one of our family or one of our service members here on base. So we certainly couldn't do it without them. I know there's there's going to be some coordination with the Medal of Honor Museum here in the coming months as they're doing their grand opening. Things like that, opportunities for especially our young service members. You know, we get some people that come here that this is their, even on the Navy and Marine Corps side, this is their first tour. They're brand new, straight out of boot camp, and going to a Navy base in Fort Worth, Texas. It's a little nonsense. So giving those people an opportunity, those young men and women that come here, an opportunity to get out in the community, meet some veterans, you know, serve some of our local schools, or serve in, you know, the museums, or if we have civic events that go on. That's something that's really important to us. We're going to try to, last year we had the air show. Of course, you guys know that was a big push, but this year we're going to do another Civic Leaders Day where we try to bring in people from those organizations and local government to come in and just get a snapshot of what we're doing on the base and the aircraft we fly and the missions we have. And we'll get all the Air Wing commanders in there and the different major tenants in there to kind of brief what's going on, just to keep us connected, keep that connective tissue with the local community. Because, as I said, that's our lifeblood, really.
Yeah, it is, and then it's important to the community because it gives us some ownership, and gives us, you know, there's a lot of people that love to help and love to volunteer, just like the food drives we have with Roll Call and some of the other organizations for the fleet and family services.
Yeah.
Because there's a real need for the lower enlisted families to, you know, they just don't have the resources sometimes to make life work out. So
yeah, life is expensive right now. That's for darn sure. I think
it is.
These last few years have been it's been crazy. But yeah, those that opportunity to have that support it's unique to this base, and so we want to continue to make those connections. And then, you know, we have some people that are on that side of it, and then of course Fort Worth is a place that a lot of people want to retire. So we also have a large population of people that come here because they want this to be the last stop, right? So it's a very healthy local community, and the job market is good, and so people want to come here. And one of the contracts we make when people sit down in front of us is, hey, listen, you know, that can be a challenge, right? That can be a challenge to not take the pack off, as we say in the military, when you're on your retirement tour. And we tell people, hey, give us everything you got for every day you're here, and then our goal is to help you transition well at the end, because we all none of us get to wear this uniform forever, me included, right? Like, we're going to take it off at some point. So we've been trying to make our hiring fairs at the Fleet and Family that they're hosting as robust as possible. We want to give people time to do skill bridge programs, to get out in the community and try out a new skill set. And so having a strong local community to help people transition out of the military when that time comes is extremely important. And we want people to feel like hey, I can work hard for a long time, but when my time comes, the command is going to help us, and the local community is going to help us to find a new job and find a new passion. Because we all get nervous about that day, and some people go kicking and screaming, some people go running a sprint out of the military. But either way, they got to find a new career afterwards.
And the Skill Bridge program is such a great program. And I know there's several people out there that go to these businesses to tell them about it. But it's just such a great program to transition, and they can transition and still get paid. So it's not costing the employer anything, is it? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think that's a good representation of it. Is companies need to get registered with the SkillBridge program, but then presumably what people do then is they take that end of their tour, and there's kind of different level number of months that you can do it based on your rank and that sort of thing. The goal really here is the more junior enlisted population for doing SkillBridge, but officers can do it as well. Senior enlisted can do it as well. And they get to go out and work with these companies while they're still maybe, getting ready to do their terminal leave, or they're not requiring a paycheck yet, but they go out there, they learn a new skill set. They get to rub shoulders with some of the local community and some of the local businesses, and they get to try on a new job. And on the employer side, they're kind of getting some free support for a little while. They bring a service member in, they train them up, they teach them up, maybe figure out if it's going to be a good fit for the company. And I think what it really does is it empowers the service member to feel like, yeah, this is something I would love to do. And I do have a good skill set. I do have some strong things to bring to the table. And maybe I don't have training directly in human resources or whatever it is, but I've been solving difficult problem sets for a long time. I've been leading men and women for a long time. And so you do have that value, even if you can't maybe fill it out on your resume exactly what that looks like. So that's what we want to do with these programs. We want to help people to transition well, and really as an honor to their service and sacrifice. Because at one point they signed their name on the dotted line and said, I'm willing to give my life in defense of the country. And because they do that, we owe them the best we can when their time comes to transition out.
What's your biggest challenge being the skipper of the base?
Do you want the real answer here, or do you want the politician answer? No, I think the unique challenges we have here at the installation, one is, one of our, one of the strengths of the base is that we have all these different mission sets. But as you guys know, all the services speak a little bit different language, and everybody has kind of their own stovepipes of what they need to get done, and some different stovepipes of how they get money for their individual mission sets. And so trying to get everybody to speak the same language can be a challenge. What I will say is I probably wouldn't qualify as the most difficult thing, because I've actually had a really good experience. I know Captain McLean had a good experience. We're all on each other's speed dial and texting each other when problems come up. And so I think we do well with it, but there are some just institutional challenges to being a joint reserve base, and everybody coming from different communities. But probably it's like any other place that you work. There's just there's always going to be that 1%, 2% of drama challenges that pop up on any given day. That you're just you're just throwing arrows at the wall trying to hit those, and at the same time you're trying to stay up above the water line. Not just treading but making way. So I think that's typically the challenge. Is just there's a lot of people work on this base. It's about 6,000 people on any given day, but can flex to about 11,000 if you include everybody and all of our reservists here. On the weekends, as you guys know, it can get extremely busy on the base when it's a mega drill weekend and everybody's drilling. So, the easy answer would be to say that we have an old base and it's hard to pay for old infrastructure, but we're figuring that out. We're getting at that problem just like all of our predecessors did, to try to make it a better place, and we're making ground there. But yeah, I think that's probably those are probably the main drivers.
And with some of the funds that you receive, I think the city of Fort Worth allocates some funds, and maybe the Military Preparedness Commission from the state might allocate some funds too to help, don't they?
Yeah, so you're probably getting to a little bit of the grant money that we've received. So there's a program called DAG, and DAG is a Texas grant program that kind of joins with local communities, and they're able to appropriate funds that we eventually receive at the installation level to get at some of our projects. For the last 3 years, we've gotten a small chunk of that. Each year, we've had 3 phases of a flight line security project where, I won't get into all the details, but we're strengthening the security of our flight line and access to our flight line. And so because we received a DAG grant, we're able to then, have matching funds from the Navy side that we push to it and really double our resources for something like that. Those are things that we will continue to advocate on behalf of this base for. Some of our main challenges here are energy and utilities. We have to strengthen our electrical system, our electrical infrastructure, and some of our utilities here, that as any old installation would have to do, and continuing to get at some of the quality of life things, some of the airfield projects that we have going on. So when we are able to leverage or capitalize on grant money, then it's a gift. It's great. And again, state of Texas, the Texas Military Preparedness Commission, and the local cities that work on our behalf, the council of governments that works on our behalf, to try to advocate for some of the different transportation projects that are going on and around the base. Those are the types of things that will give us longevity and strength into the future. So it's a unique part about being here in Fort Worth.
And Skipper McLean, I think he's on the Military Preparedness Commission now, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, that's correct. I'm plugging in my.
I think he took General Pottinger's place. I think he froze up, Skipper. Can you hear me? Well, Mary, you spend a lot of time out at the base, so you know some of those issues that the skipper's been talking about. Just trying to get things done, especially with old facilities, and then interacting with the Navy and the Marines. And
well, yeah, because he's right. You're always speaking different languages. You have different needs, and you speak different jargon, and so you're trying to coordinate all of that.
And then you also know about the personnel and the issues that especially the lower enlisted people have as far as finances and some of the needs they have. So there's a lot of things to take care of whenever you are in the military and you're a senior NCO or an officer. And I can just imagine all the juggling that the skipper's got to do.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's juggling 50 things at one time. Sorry, this cough will not go away.
I don't know what he plugged in, but it was something that. There he is. There you are.
Sorry, I messed up your stream.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
Well, we were just
talking about you behind your back.
We're just talking about all the juggling that you have to do in your job.
There's hackers. These were hackers that were trying to break up what we were doing here. We had to overcome it. So
probably.
Yeah. No, good. Thanks for getting me on there.
But a lot of challenges, but you're up for the challenge. And what's on the horizon for this year?
Yeah, good question. Well, we're doing a little different approach this year. So kind of fun. What we did at the end of the year, we're trying to installation wide. This is a low level command thing, but we're really trying to continue to train and develop our own talent on the team. And so we've really asked all of our department heads to look at different things we can be doing to train and build our folks. And we had all of our most of our junior sailors in our departments got to present all their command achievements at our last quarters in December. And then over January and February, we're meeting with all of our departments and including our some of our junior enlisted personnel who are helping to do goal setting for the year. So you asked me what we're doing for the year. Really, I'm still finding out, because we've met with about 3 of our departments, and we're meeting with all of them and finding out, you know, what's going to be a good year and what's going to be a great year. And then really we'll kind of pattern our activities and our resourcing based on what the team says they need. So we're going to continue to get at some of the bigger problems here and continue to work on the infrastructure side, but really on the people side, we're going to just try some new things this year to see if we can continue to kind of get at that training part of it. We'll be doing some events on the year, just like we always do. We'll have Holidays and Heroes out here again. Hopefully we'll see roll call out here again. We'll have the Civic Leaders Day coming up. We have a security inspection that's coming up here in a couple months. We've got a security exercise going on DoD wide this week. We have an inspection here about every other week of one of the departments. Somebody comes in and checking out your business. So we've got that going on. And so those are some of the drumbeat stuff between now and June, July time frame that we'll be doing. But it's the everyday stuff where we make the wins. And so investment in our people is what we're focusing on this year. And we'll see where that takes us.
Well, that sounds like you've got a lot of things going on. So we really appreciate you taking the time today to be a guest on our podcast. And, we really just want to support you and support the base all we can. So you know that we're out there, and whatever you need, we can find the resources. Somebody can help if it can come from the community to help you. So
anytime, anything, let us
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no,
And
I appreciate
whatever we
that.
can-
You guys are great.
We
Whatever
have
we
so
can
Yeah, I
many
was
do
gonna
to-
say you guys are
members
great.
at
We really
roll call.
Yeah,
We have so many of our
I love
members at
that.
roll
We really-
call that just want so much to always be able to come out there and help any way they can. So you just tell us what you need, and we'll find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well, tell those gate guards when you're coming through that you appreciate them, because I know standing 12-hour shifts isn't the easiest thing. So I
Yeah.
try to bring them donuts. Well, I don't bring them donuts, actually. I bring them little sausage rolls. I try to give them a little bit of protein instead of dropping off donuts down there. But
Well,
taking care of those guys. And
I told you at Christmas time that I came and I brought them a bunch of goodies. I took it to
Yes,
to the main building and left it and just said, hey, please, here's some cookies, fudge. You guys are
I
just,
love it.
phenomenal. Yep.
I love it. I love it. When I come through there, not me having 6 kids at home, when I bring food back, I don't just drop off food if I got a little gift to give. I got to make sure they didn't already get donuts. So they know the food's going to get eaten in my house one way or the other. So they gotta earn their keep down there. So if somebody's dropping off food like you, then I got to find out first so I don't waste a sausage roll or two. So but no, we really appreciate you guys. We appreciate what you bring to the local community. We recognize that we're just temporary here, and soon we'll hand it off to somebody else. But that's what you guys did. That's what everybody does. Is they play their part, they do their thing, and hopefully 20 years from now we're all still coming on NAS JRB Fort Worth talking about some of the great stories we had. So if there is one thing I would ask, it's when you're around service members, and this is for everybody, when you're around some of our young service members, take the time to tell them a story and tell them why you did what you did. And I think you want to talk about retention, which is what we obviously need in the military. Connecting, I would say connecting your skill set with your passion. If you can connect your skill set and your passion together, that's a powerful combination.
Amen.
And so if people can find that in the military, then that's how we're going to win the next war. So, but no, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. It was fun to chat with you guys.
Well, thank you, Skipper. And I'm sure our paths will cross. The last time I saw you was Monday night last week. Kind of looked up there and you were
Yes, what a
sitting right
fun
above
night
my
that
head.
always is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Never
somebody
you-
had
you-
just asked me, "Hey, is the skipper going to come riding in? Is the skipper here?" And I looked up and I went, "Oh, he's right there."
I know.
Did-
We used to ride on a horse in there, which I think was a cool tradition. I think we need to fire that back up, at least for the guy that comes behind me for doing that, because it's always fun to watch somebody awkwardly ride a horse that's never ridden a horse before. I think that's a hilarious thing to watch.
Well, they've got horses there that can fit people that never have ridden a horse, because there's horses that never have been ridden. So just match all up and
I love it.
see how well you do.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's a good chance to be humbled.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Skipper.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you too. And we will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good.
Yeah, he's a really special guy. So, I think we had a great relationship with Captain McLean, and he had to, as we all do, go on, and he retired and went on to the airline, and we don't get to see him as much. I text him when there's something great that happened that I think I should congratulate him for, but and we see him every once in a while. And then the Captain Hufstetler's made a couple of luncheons, and he just kind of sneaks in and sits down with folks and visits. And then I tend to sometimes point him out so that people will go over there and talk to him. But he's just such a nice and humble man, and just, he's just so nice. He's so friendly, and the folks just love to talk to him.
Yeah,
So
and that makes their day too. Especially whenever he sits at the table with some of them, but sometimes it's like their tour is just not long enough, because about the time we really get them broken in, then it's time to move on. And so
it's sad. Yeah,
but
just the nature of the beast.
It is, but there's so much support that our community gives the base, and just like the enlisted people, those young people that are coming in the military, they don't know how fortunate they are to have the kind of support. And we need to try to engraft them in some things. Maybe we can have some of the units send people to come to roll call to serve the veterans. Just select 3 or 4, and that way we can start meeting more of them and have them meet our veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And our next luncheon is coming up. So the RSVP link will open on Monday, the 17th at 9 a.m. Newsletter should go out that day as well. So I'm trying to make sure that those two things sync up, the RSVP invite and the newsletter, so that folks aren't confused, because they're used to getting the newsletter and then RSVPing. And when it comes out too soon, then they get confused. So, but the RSVP link will open that day. The luncheon is the following Friday. So I think that I don't have a calendar handy. Is that the 28th?
28th, I think. Yeah.
I think so too.
Who's going to be the speaker?
Carl Monger. He was supposed to be our speaker in January, but he had a death in the family. And so we kind of moved some things around. So he's going to speak in February, and that will be really nice. And then in March, we're going to do our very last Vietnam veteran pinning ceremony. And it will be the full ceremony. Carla Wicks, our special events coordinator, she's got kind of a great plan for how she's going to do it. And that will be a big event for any Vietnam era veterans. So you don't have to be combat. This really confuses the Vietnam guys. There's a lot of confusion there. So if a person is Vietnam era and they have not received a pin, so a lot of them have already received the pins, whether with us or with somebody else. But if they haven't received a pin yet, then we'll get them pinned at that March luncheon. So that will be the ceremony there. Oh, I lost your voice, Rick.
That's because I'm muted.
Oh, like I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
One thing that Kay Harmon and I are working on is to, she's a photographer and I'm a photographer. We're going to set up an area where we have lights and everything and start doing portraits of our veterans.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
So we're kind of in the talking stages, and hopefully we can get that put together in the next month or so.
Yeah, very cool. That would be very cool. I think they would really love that.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And then
very special.
Maybe we can have a place on our website. Here's a gallery of our veterans and have those portraits there. So
absolutely. I think that'd be great.
A lot of stuff's been going on. I've been kind of out of commission as far as life goes for about 25 days. And I was at the stock show and the rodeo and made 25 rodeo performances. That's more rodeo performances than I've attended in my whole life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might be a little rodeoed out.
And I figured I walked 113 miles.
Wow.
And that sounds like a lot, but you probably run that much in a week or two.
No. No.
But I met a lot of nice people, made some friends, and saw a lot of people that I knew. And the whole highlight of the whole thing was last Monday whenever we had the Veteran Appreciation Day. And that, we really had a great turnout, not just of organizations that came there, but it seemed like that place was full of veterans for the whole afternoon. So
yeah, that that Veterans Expo, and we did the podcast live from there. They helped so many people that day, and then those folks could hang out or they could come back later for the rodeo. But and they were passing out tickets at the Veterans Expo for that night at the rodeo. So if people didn't have tickets, they were able to get them then. So it was really pretty neat. It was a long day, but it was a pretty neat day.
And since we know how this one worked and how it worked so good, we'll work harder to really get more of our veterans there and get more of them to the rodeo. So
for sure.
And I think today or yesterday was Ron Lane's 86th birthday, and he spent about 5 days with the museum right there by the door where they had the expo. So
his passion.
It is
his passion.
It is. Well, Mary, this has been a good podcast today with the skipper, and I know you're probably tired because you just got into Florida just a little while before we started. So
yeah. Hence the hair being, the humidity makes my hair just go all kinds of crazy ways. But it's definitely warm and humid here.
Well, you have a safe trip back home and get that work done that you need to do with all the state stuff and get back to Texas.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready already. I just got here.
Well, I will see you soon. I'll see you when you get back.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody that's been a part of our podcast today, and we will see you next week.